Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Burnout Prevention Network. We have Nayampu and I were together. We're literally very close together. And we are here and we have a beautiful guest. She's actually one of our Burnout Prevention Network, our original members, Karen. Karen, introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, I'm so glad to be here with you. It's awesome. My name's Karen Doiron, and I am a registered nurse with about 11 years experience. And I also am founder of a coaching program or a coaching company called the Rest RN. And so what I really focus on is teaching women in healthcare how to rest and manage their stress response to improve their health and happiness.
Yes, and don't we need that?
Oh, goodness.
So Nayempo and I Karen, we're actually in Jamaica, and we wanted to practice what we preach about burnout prevention, and we wanted to start off this journey actually resting. And we were talking about rest yesterday, and we were saying that rest is not just always leaving. Like you don't always have to retreat to rest. So for you, that's our first question. Like, what is rest for nurses? What does that look like?
Right. I think that we can reframe how we see rest. I like to say that rest is a productive activity, meaning that we need to be incorporating it regularly into our days and into our habits. So often what happens is that we think rest is more like just shutting down or shutting out. And really rest should be rejuvenating, and it should be something that really brings energy into our day. And it can look like so many different things. And so what I think is really beneficial as we start to explore this rest toolkit is figuring out what your own toolkit is. Like, what are the things that one are easy to incorporate into your daily life, that are enjoyable, because you'll do things more often if they're enjoyable, and that really feel like they're restoring you, connecting you to yourself and your purpose. And so rest can take on a lot of different things, but true rest should encompass all different parts of ourselves. So we may need physical rest more some days, but we might also need emotional rest or spiritual rest or intellectual rest. So yeah.
Yes, I get you. Like sometimes you just need to fill up your soul. Like you might not even need to stop activity. You might just need to add, like some people praise music, some people meditation, some people a nature walk.
Yeah.
Am I getting the right?
You are getting it right. When you say rest from activities, just the physical rest is where I believe a lot of us are stuck in that dimension where we think of rest as abstaining from physical activities and that's it. But now, just learning that rest does not stop there. It encompasses all dimensions of our lives. And that's, I believe I'm not the only one getting this enlightenment today.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So Karen, you are a nurse, right? Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
So what made you really launch into coaching and coaching nurses, to be specific?
Right. Well, it really came out of really my own personal journey to try to figure out how to be well and how to implement healthy habits while also being a nurse. And my own experience with burnout and trying to figure out, how do you really make sustainable habit change? And it was so frustrating for me because I'm a nurse and I knew all the information, right? I'm taking care of patients in the hospital that are in the hospital because of these chronic illnesses and lifestyle choices. And I see the end result, diabetes. But then after my shift, I go home and eat a gallon of ice cream. There's that disconnect, and it was so frustrating for me personally because I wanted to make these choices. It was really difficult. And I was noticing that in my colleagues too. Like a lot of our wellness programs that are out there, maybe exercise plans, gym memberships, even nutrition plans, are not really designed for people that do the work that we do. Like if I'm working a 14-hour shift, I don't want to go to the gym and lift weights for an hour after that shift. And I don't want to feel like that has to be something I have to do to stay healthy. Like how do we create something that works for us and that doesn't just stress us out more because we're trying to add all these things to our lives that don't fit the lifestyle and the demands of working in healthcare.
I think she hit it right on. And I think a lot of nurses, even when they realize that they're burned out, and so we go for therapy because most times we're nurses and we are caregivers, not just to our patients, but to our families. We're helping our friends out. We wear so many different hats. So I think having a nurse help us.
Yeah.
Because we have that guilt. Did we talk about that guilt? We have that guilt as a nurse where you feel guilty even when you do rest. You feel guilty.
I think it's one of those. Well, I work with a military population, and they talk about survivor's guilt, and this brings me closer to that, where we're always on the go for others. So when we're not on the go, we feel like we're not being productive.
Mm-hmm.
So then that interferes with our rest,
Yeah.
because we feel that, okay, I've accomplished this for that person, so I feel accomplished.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's huge. Because I like to say I'm a recovering overachiever and chronic stressor.
Oh, yes, girl. Yes.
Like my whole adult life was in this state of achievement, of doing things right. What's the next step? Yeah, like how do I
raise my hand? I'm on that list on the top.
What's the next degree I can get? What's the next certification, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I know you guys both have more certifications than me, so I know you understand it.
She's good.
And there's some like comfort, I think, in those achievements for sure, right? You get the recognition, you feel like I'm doing the right thing. I am a contributing member of society. I am achieving. But until I really started on this wellness journey, I didn't realize how much that was contributing to my physical downfall, and that it was constantly triggering this state of chronic stress of go, what's next? And then this mental load of trying to always do everything. And then your body, it's just, what you're thinking, it triggers your body's response, right? So it triggered the stress response. And I lived in that constantly. And I just thought it was normal. Most of us do. And then as I've started to figure out how do you redesign things, how do you live differently so that you are downgrading that stress response, choosing to do things based on priority and what's important to you rather than just what people say you should do. It's a beautiful process because you realize like you can actually still be just as productive and you can just still be just as, good at what you do. Sometimes even better because you have the reserves and the energy and you're like, and you're also moved with that purpose of like, this is what I really want to be doing, not what everyone tells me I should be doing.
Yeah.
There's an amazing podcast I listened to called The Lazy Genius. And I love it because her tagline is being lazy in the things being genius in the things that matter and lazy in the things that don't.
That's key.
That's a crime.
Yeah. and I resonated with that so much, because I mean, I am genius in a lot of things.
Yes.
But I can't be genius in everything.
Yes.
And that's a good thing too.
But Karen, that makes me think about nurses. Like when we go to nursing school, we learn literally just about everything. And so because of that, we feel as though we need to be good at everything. And when we find those weak points, I don't know how you feel, but I always feel like I'm not really good at that, and it made me feel like I'm lacking.
Mm.
But not giving so much. I think what I'm trying to say is I think we spread ourselves so thin that we can't really relax. We can't rest.
And the sad ordeal is that nurses can do so many other people's jobs, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
If respiratory therapist is not there, we're suctioning, we're, you know,
That's true.
helping that patient. If housekeeping is not on board today, we're mopping, we're cleaning, making sure that no one slip and falls, right? But turn the table around, how many other professionals can do a nurse's job?
That's true.
The list is slim
That's
to almost
true.
none, I want to say. Maybe I'm being biased. Someone can set me straight, but we do, we're capable and we put ourselves in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we need to delegate,
Yeah.
that's being lazy to do the important things, that is where that we don't delegate.
Yeah.
We delegate very minimally, and that's our weakness.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, that leads to what I wanted to ask Karen about what her thoughts are on the current state of nursing.
Yeah.
Because you're still in the hospital, you're still working. So what are you seeing as far as the burnout of the nurses?
Yeah. I mean, I work part-time pool position at the hospital. And yeah, I think that it's a difficult time right now. I think that all of the stressors of the last few years are coming to an head. And a lot of the structural problems in the hospital and in the healthcare system have become so much more apparent to nurses, because we're the ones that spends the most time with the patient. And so we're seeing how a lot of these things are impacting patient care. Um, and um, and so a lot of nurses that have been doing this forever that I work with are just getting to the point where they're like, this is not what I want to do, or this is not what I signed up for. It's different. And what I find really concerning in talking with a lot of nurses is that they don't feel like their voices are being heard as agents for change structurally. You know, like they are saying, hey, if you change nurse to patient ratios, you increase the number of patients that each nurses have, these are the outcomes that we will see. These are the impacts to the patients that we will see. This is the decrease in our quality that we will see. And yet these decisions are still being made. And so it's a really disempowering thing for a lot of nurses. And there's that moral injury of we want to be doing a better job, right? Like what's one thing that's amazing about nurses, right, is that we want to do a really good job. Like we don't just like to do it halfway. You know, we, at least the ones, almost every nurse that I encountered really wants to do a good job. And the ones that tend to not are usually the ones that are at that point of extreme burnout, that are just kind of getting through the shift, right? It's a symptom of the stressors they're operating under. So I think that nurses, this is a really critical time for us to really make some decisions about where we want our profession to go, about what we want our workflow to look like.
Yeah.
What do we want our profession to be, and how do we advocate for that? Because we need to be the ones making those decisions, and we want our voices to be heard. And I'm concerned for the health of all of us, because that chronic stress, our jobs are chronic stress. I mean, you start your shift and it's constant, and it's not like I mean, if you pass a med late, it can impact patient care, right? The consequences are high. So we need to learn how to manage that too, so that we're healthy.
Yes.
So it's a big, big question, and I could talk a long time about it, but that's the main things that I'm seeing.
I like your response to that. When you talk about moral injury, that's a biggie. I believe that's part of the root causes to burnout.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And you know, Karen, you said so many things that I know Dr. Nayampu, she was like, yes, she's like, I wrote a paper on this. And so many of our nurses in the Burnout Prevention Network, they are so passionate about it. That's why we're so happy that you're here with us. Now, do you have a focus as far as the nurses that you coach? Because for us, we think we need to get them young. We need to get them in nursing school. Then some of our other members of the burnout prevention, they're like, we need to get that trauma. We need to get the ICU. And then some are like, we need to get the experienced nurses. So, and then some is like, I just want to get my coworkers because they're sick and they're burning out, you know? So do you have a preference of who you serve? Well, not preference, but like a focus.
So in general, the work that I do, I walk people through a systematic process of how to address stress, understand your stress response, and actually de-stress. I mean, so many times we're like, you just need to be less stressed. Yeah. Great. But how do you do that? Like, we're not taught how to do that, right? So that's kind of my approach. That's the part that I want to add to the conversation is like looking at your whole wellness plan through the lens of your stress response, right? How do you look at your nutrition through your stress response, movement, connections with people, all that kind of stuff. Because when you address stress, everything else goes better. If you don't address stress, it'll sabotage everything else you're doing. So you could have the best nutrition, right? You could hire a dietitian and be on point with all of your food. You could work out consistently with the best trainers. But if you are in a state of chronic stress, all that work is not going to be optimized. So I feel like what I do is really a good basis for anything. And it's really going to make a lot of difference for people quickly as far as like emotional regulation, sleep, connections, even job fulfillment. I would say though, where I kind of feel the most passionate about are those, I mean, everyone has those like, I can help everyone, but, right. And I love that question you asked that. So my experience is med surg and medical oncology. So those are kind of like an oncology. So those are the nurses that I understand their workflow the best. But I also feel really strongly about getting this work to nursing students and nurses in their first few years of the practice. Because the rates of nurses leaving the profession is really high, and they work so hard to get there. Like nursing school is one of the hardest things I've ever done, and I had a bachelor's prior to that, and I like school, right? So, but it was still the hardest thing I've ever done. So it's hard, and you work really hard to get there.
Yeah.
So it kind of breaks my heart that we have these people that are so passionate, get through nursing school, and then get into this job, and they may have the intellectual knowledge, but they don't have the knowledge of how to like move through their day and to take care of themselves, how to set boundaries, how to communicate with colleagues, how to advocate for themselves and their schedules. And all those things are incorporated in understanding your stress response, right? You have to set boundaries to take care of yourself. So I would really love, to really get this in front of those people as they're starting their careers, because they're also coming out of nursing school. And I think that's one of the really difficult things for nurses is that nursing school is so difficult, and it like rewards people for living in a state of chronic stress, right? It rewards you for go, do, stay up all night,
Yeah.
study for the test. You have to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. And you're living that for a few years. And then all of a sudden you come into this job and you don't know as much as you think you do. And then you're still in that state, right? So you never really shut that off either coming out of nursing school. So
Yeah. That, and that's so true, Karen. And the reason why we ask you the question is as our global burnout prevention network grows and we bring you in as guest speaker, we want to know, we want those who look at this recording and those who are looking at your restrn.com, we want them to look and identify with you and to know that on our platform, we have different types of nurses coaching different types of stress response. Some people, they may need therapy, like mental health therapy, but they might not be there just yet. So we have nurses that can help them get there. But I think just knowing your passion, I think that's a big thing because we don't work in our passion, and that causes burnout as well. So, like you say, rest is putting energy into you. And if you're doing something that makes you so energized and you can hear your fellow med surg, fellow oncology student nurses say, Karen, help me get through this career. That would make us happy in the Burnout Prevention Network. That will be a success in itself. So just knowing how to align as Nyampu and I, as we're going and leading this revolution and we're speaking to nursing students, and we know you're in Washington, but Zoom or the nonprofit Nurses in Charge, so many different places you can help us out as we go forward in this revolution. Yeah, so thank you for coming. Nyampu, did you have any questions you wanted to ask Karen? Were you curious of anything?
So Karen, just one last question for you regarding your own family setup. Are you just a nurse, single woman running the world in nursing profession that you have all this time on your hand to build your own company? Who are you?
great question. So remember, what you see online is not always what's behind the scenes. So behind my scenes, I have 4 children, ages 14 to 2. So I'm living the teenage life and the toddler life, right?
Wow.
Yeah, which is amazing. And then during the school year, I homeschool a few of them.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Kudos
So
to you, super nurse
That's
at that age.
amazing.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's just important for people to know too. Like I really, this is my passion, but it's also being built slowly in a way that is really intentional and also has to work for this season of my life. And I think that's really valuable for us to know as nurses. Like we have this amazing skill set being a nurse, but we have also the freedom to find different ways to be a nurse in the different seasons of our life, in ways that really honor that. And I think that's a gift of our profession.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you said that, Karen, because I'm coming to this trip to Jamaica.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, do I take the baby? Do I not? Because I have a 2-year-old as well. And Nyampu said, you should take the baby because some nurses may think, I have a baby. I can't. And then some people may think because her kids are a little bit older. And
My kids are older.
Yeah.
They can feed themselves. I have 4 as well, Karen. I have 11 to 26.
Okay, yeah.
And I couldn't do many things in the past that I'm doing now. So I compliment Casey in a way where I see things that I'm like, no, please do it. Please do this. Please take your child with you. Not only for the burnout prevention program, but for her mindset, for her rest. Let's go back to that. Because she will not rest. I know I won't rest. If I was way out here, I had a 2-year-old child back in the US and I'm out here in Jamaica, my mind will be home, right? So the boy being here Jaira being here. It's a fun time. He's full of joy. And he is not interrupting anything. And if he's interrupting anybody's time, too bad for you. This is our real life, you know?
Yes.
Get with us or don't get with us.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, the seasons of our life, I'm in that season where I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody else think about me
Yeah.
because this is about getting me well, maintaining myself, and being able to help someone else.
Yes.
You know, another nurse out there, bunch of nurses out there. So, season, time, family, all of those things
All of it.
come as a package. You can't leave them behind.
No.
There are times you can do,
Yeah.
but there are times you have to be willing to, you know, or not.
Yeah.
You have to.
And you have to know what works for you.
Yeah.
And I love that about Karen. You have to know what is doable and what you can do with what you have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh man, Karen, we're up on the hour. Do you have any last words, any last tips, tricks, or advice, or just anything that you want to say in closing? This is your time.
Well, first, I'm just so thankful to be part of this conversation. I can like feel the joy coming through the video. I love it. And, you know, I just think it's really important for us as nurses to understand that taking care of ourselves is professional development, right? That's how we can take care of our patients the best. And a rested nurse who understands like how to take care of themselves and also understands what they need throughout the day, their work day even, to operate at their best. That's when we're going to start to be able to see change, because we're going to be rested and have those reserves to be able to be empowered to advocate for change, to really help the patients that we love so much and the communities that need nurses for their own health, and for our own families. So taking care of yourself will allow you to do that, and allow you to be the leader in your own sphere of influence. I know that it can get really overwhelming seeing the state of healthcare, and I get overwhelmed quite often. I want to fix everything. I'm a fixer, or I'm a planner, you know, and I realize that I also need to step back and really just focus on the things that I'm passionate about and let that be my part of the conversation. So I would encourage all nurses first to take care of themselves as far as understanding their stress response and figure out ways to start to decrease that. And then two, if you want to get involved, pick one thing that you're passionate about, or one thing that your little zone of genius can make a difference in, and then make that one small change. Because if we all do that, the diversity in the nursing profession is amazing. And most nurses that I meet are some of the most intelligent, well-rounded, multi-passionate people. And so we really can bring a lot of different things to solve this problem, or a lot of these problems we're seeing in healthcare. So if we all kind of pick one thing that maybe we want to change or work on, it could be as simple as, I want to help my coworkers get their breaks. What can we do as a unit? How can I figure that out? How can I advocate for that? Or how can I just go around and take people's phones and get them on break? Or I love to hike, and I'm just going to offer to have a hike for my unit or for my coworkers once a month, and we're just going to go hiking together. So how can we, in our own spheres of influence, make and advocate healthy change for our profession and for ourselves? That's what I would encourage people to do.
We are so grateful to have you, to have these beautiful words. We're taking it personally for ourselves. We're gonna rest, and we're gonna be in collaboration with you. If anyone wants to reach out to Karen, her email address is therestrn.com. She's also on LinkedIn. So please be sure to reach out to her. And we are so thankful to have you, our audience, tune in with us. And hopefully we can see you next week, Thursday at 11. And thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Dr. Nyampu. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And we'll sign up for now.